The biggest mistake I see people make in the info space is not charging enough for their coaching offer. I see so many people charge 100, 200, 500 bucks for one-on-one coaching, and it literally breaks my heart. And the reason why people make this mistake is because fundamentally they do not understand what it means to be a coach, and they definitely don't understand the difference between your coaching offer and the offer that you give throughout the course. And no, the answer is not just access to you one-on-one. There are legitimate differences that you need to have in your coaching offers that allows you to be able to charge 5, 10, $15,000. So in this video, I will break down what these differences are so that you can properly structure your coaching offer and make the money that you know that you need to be making. First, we start off with understanding exactly what coaching is. It can be separated into four quadrants, but ultimately, any great coaching offer actually occupies all four of these. The purpose of why I'm separating them like this is so we can just better visualize the different aspects of coaching. You can see that each axis is labeled. So we have ask and tell, solution, and problem. So coaching is asking your prospect what they think the solution is. Mentoring is telling your prospect what the solution is. Counseling is asking your prospect what they think the problem is. And consulting is telling your prospect what they think the problem is. A lot of times when people come out with coaching offers, they only occupy one or two of these quadrants. And when in reality, you want to occupy all four, because the big thing about coaching and the big reason why we're even putting information out there or education out there is because we are trying to change habits. Now, this right here, what you see, it's called the behavioral hierarchy. And this is how you change people's habits. As you can see right here, habits is all the way at the bottom. But before you get to habits, you have to go through actions. Before you go through actions, have to get through emotions. Before you go through emotions, you have to get through thoughts. And before you go through thoughts, you have to go through beliefs. Before you go through beliefs, you have to go through identity. It all starts with the identity and the beliefs that your prospect has about themselves. Because we all know that person that we tell them to take a whole bunch of actions and they do it for a little bit, but they never form the necessary habits to genuinely save their life. The reason why is because courses and just general information, right, that you give out only solve this. It only tells people the actions that they need to take, which is very useful, but it doesn't solve the rest of this equation right here. The only things that solve this entire equation right here is coaching, mentoring, consulting, and counseling and things of that nature, right? So I'm going to break down how each step trickles onto the next one and why actions and habits are all dictated by the identity and beliefs that your prospect has about him or herself. So starting at identity to belief, how you see yourself: I'm an entrepreneur, I am healthy, I am someone who follows through, immediately shapes what you believe is possible or acceptable. If you identify as not a morning person, you believe that you can't wake up early, so you don't even try. Now, your beliefs trickle onto your thoughts. Beliefs generate self talk. I can't wake up early, or I can't do this, or this is impossible. Thoughts trickle on to your emotions. Your inner monologue then spawns emotions, frustration, or doubt that further entrench your negative belief. Emotions turn into actions. Subconsciously, you act in ways that confirm your beliefs and emotions. If you feel unworthy, you procrastinate or you underprepare. If you feel capable, you show up. This is very important because 99% of this is subconscious. You don't even know it's happening, right? That's why we are so important as coaches, because it's our job to recognize all of this negativity, right? So we can make the proper corrections and actually help people change their lives. Because, like I said, 9 times out of 10, they don't even know what's going on. Now, your emotions trickle into your actions. Your actions trickle into your habits because repeating those identity driven actions or inactions daily cements habits good or bad, over weeks and months. So it all starts with identity. But now here's a follow up question: how do we coach somebody? How do we build a coaching program that focuses on shifting identities and beliefs rather than just giving them a whole bunch of new actions? Well, that's where we get into this. So, coaching program structure. This structure right here is going to be for an 8 week program. Of course, you can play around with this depending on how long you want your coaching program to be. But this is just a rough draft so that you can start to visualize the different components that go in here. So, week one or call one, outcome clarity and problem agitation. The goal on the first call or the first week is for them to visualize what success would look like to them, uncover what the main things that have stopped them from achieving it, and agitate the problem. You are purposely trying to induce deep levels of pain because pain is the catalyst for change. You do this with active listening and asking open ended questions that force them to dig in deeper than surface issues. We are looking for root issues, which is most likely going to be rooted in limited beliefs. This is so important. You cannot tell people. You have to ask them with open ended, powerful questions. I have the section all the way down here that we're going to skip to real quick so that you can see the question hierarchy on and what is considered a powerful open ended question. So, how questions and what questions rank on. This is reversed. This is supposed to be like that. There we go. So, this is in descending order. So how, what, when, where, which, yes, no questions. And you can see that how and what questions rank highest in power and open-endedness. So you want to lead with how questions. So let's say somebody says, my dream is to become the best NASCAR driver in the world, but I just can't seem to figure out how to get there. Okay. How does that make you feel? Well, it makes me feel sad and upset about myself because I have this dream, but I just can't achieve it. Okay, how are you planning on fixing this? Right. So you want to ask open-ended questions that force them to dig deeper into their internal issue. Now, going back to where were we at? We were here. Okay. So going back to this, right? After you've caused enough pain, we move on to weeks 2 through 7, which is identity and belief shift. This is where the bulk of the program will be done. Before we move down to week 8, we're actually going to move to the left. So you can see how to structure a coaching call for weeks 2 through 7. Coaching session structure. Step one is emptying the cup. Just let your student vent, talk about what's there at the top of their mind in relation to the program. This is just building rapport and getting them to drop their guard. Step number 2 is follow up on action items. This one is self explanatory. Step number 3 is objectives. Either outline the objectives for the session or have your prospect outline what they wish to accomplish during the session. This depends on your coaching style. What I mean by that is that there's different types of coaching. There are coaches that lead and set the tone, or there are coaches that have the prospect lead and set the tone, right? It's all about how you want your coaching to play out. And it goes all back to here. You can make that judgment of what type of coach you want to be by understanding that there's just not one universal type. And you actually have to be able to cover all four. This is why I started here. But moving on, we are success metrics. You and the prospect collaborate on what would be defined as a good outcome for the session. 5, which is why. You want to consistently keep this prospect why at the top of their mind. They have to be the one that states why hitting those success metric is important, not you telling them. 6, reality. We have to evaluate where they are at currently compared to the goal. 7, options. What different avenues do they have for achieving that goal? 8, actions. New action steps are assigned. 9, circle back, recap review session. 10, ask for feedback. So, time wise, these 4 should only take 10 to 15 minutes. These four is going to be the bulk, and that's going to take 40 to 45 minutes. And these are going to be your last five. So in a coaching offer, right, or a coaching session, client comes in, you guys build some rapport, right? Then you ask them, hey, how did that assignment or those things I asked you to take care of at the end of the session go? And they start talking about that. Then you're like, okay, cool. You either tell them this is what we're going to achieve during this session, or you ask them, what would you like to achieve during this session? Blanket, blanket, blank. Then you're like, you ask them, hey, what would be what would make this session feel successful to you? And then they're going to give you something, or you guys can collaborate on what the actual success metric is. Then you ask them why. These three right here are all question based. Once again, this is where the change work happens. This is where you're digging in, you're asking deep level questions, going back to this, getting to the root cause of their issue, right? Because all this is just digging in 4, 5, 6, 7 levels deeper until we get to the root issue. And then once you get to that root issue, you attack it head on, and then you give them new actions that's going to help them overcome that issue. And that's it. Now, now that we've gone left, we can go down. After weeks 2 through 7, week 8, which should be the last session, review long term action steps and celebrate their wins. Celebrating their wins is the most important part in this step. And then that's it. It's not overly complicated. It's very simple. It's just a lot of people don't really understand what it means to be a great coach. They don't understand that the work of a coach is not in giving people more and new actions to take. It's about changing their identities, changing the beliefs, changing all of this, because this is the stuff that they cannot learn through a course. This is the stuff that they cannot learn through watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos. Because if they could, they wouldn't be having the same problem. What they're actually dealing with is that they've been consuming a whole bunch of freaking data, right? They've bought a whole bunch of courses, they've watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos, right? And they've learned all the actions. 9 times out of 10, people already know what to do to change their life, which is crazy. People already know what to do to change their life, but they can't seem to do it. And the reason why is because of all of this. And that's why you're so important as a coach. And that's why you can charge 5, 10, 15 grand. That's it. Now, I don't have anything to sell you or pitch you. I am just somebody that loves the info space. I am a growth operator, right? And I am looking for new partners to partner up with and help scale their coaching offer. So if that's something that you would be interested in, the link for my partner application is down below in my description. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.